My Side of the Bag. I'm Drew Hinesley. He's Scotty Worldwide. We are coming to you from our homes today, both at home. I am back at home after doing a U.S. Open qualifier last week. We're going to talk about that and qualifying in general and maybe the grind of that and how you prepare as a caddy. Scotty, are you ready to talk U.S. Open qualifiers even though you're not having to do one this year?
I'm always ready to talk U.S. Open qualifiers. I love it. I think it's one of the cool things in our game. And I mean, how cool for you, for our folks that are watching and listening, right over your right shoulder there is the bag for one of your former bosses, Bianca. I'm not going to say the last name because I don't want to do it any.
Pagdananen. It's easy.
Okay. And that's who you hooked up with on Tuesday of this week to do 36 holes in Minnesota at Mystic Creek Golf Course.
I did.
I know because
Yeah.
I was scheduled to go before the win.
So you guys win, you get your ticket punched to the U.S. Open. The rest of us have to go up, and all the women. I do like what they did this year. They did it on an off week of the schedule,
Yep.
and they did it the week before the women play the NCAA championships. So all the good amateur players don't have to sacrifice anything. They can try to play. All the pros that need to get in don't have to kind of leave. And a lot of times it's been on Mondays that I've
Yes.
done it. And so you're leaving one city, maybe not even getting a practice round unless you missed the cut the week before, going to a new place, playing 36 holes. And then you have to leave that city and go to another city and play a tournament round, maybe a pro-am the next day or something. I mean, it's really can be a hectic schedule. So the timing was good as far as the LPGA and the USGA coordinated there, and I appreciated that. So yeah, 72-hour trip basically, late Sunday afternoon to Wednesday afternoon, practice round Monday, 36 on Tuesday. One of those, you're doing your job, you're trying to get the ball in the cup as quick as you can every hole. I don't really scoreboard watch on those things because I know it's just all that is extra stress.
Yep.
And my player, Bianca, was keeping up with it on her phone. So I know she was aware of where we stood. I was not, because I don't want that to influence any of I want to make the best decision every single opportunity I get. But we were leading after 28 holes. And we actually had played really good the front nine of the second 18 and got ourselves into that tie for the lead. And then
5
just
under, I believe, correct?
we were 5 under for 28 holes, and had one of those situations where on the tee box the wind was just dead into our face, and we hit down into this little low spot, and there's a big hill, and it's one of those, you've been there. You tell your player, hey, the wind's still up there, trust the wind. You're looking around, trees are moving, okay, great. And I don't know what happened when we hit that shot, but there was no wind, and the ball went over the green to the one place you really don't want to be. And Bianca, to her credit, tried to maybe absolve me of any wrongdoing and said after the round, that green was just, I need to say something about that green. I said, B, you should have never been coming across the backside of that green. It was bad condition, whatever it was. You should have never encountered that at all. That was my decision on a club. I made the wrong decision. She hit a fantastic shot. That's the worst, isn't it? When you make a decision based on all the variables all around, and you're tuned in, you're in the game, and your player flushes one, and then you get around the corner and you don't feel the wind, you're like, oh no. And you see the ball come down and you're like, oh no. My player hit a great shot and I made a poor decision. So that is a tough thing to swallow. Yeah. You do this long enough, it happens. I can go all the way back to keeping a guy from getting into match play at the US Amateur because I called for an 8-iron. He thought it was a 9. 8-1 hopped over the green. We made bogey. We missed match play by one shot. So I remember stuff like that. Stuff will never leave me, nor will that second shot that Bianca crushed an 8-iron, hit it so good, and you know how far Bianca can hit the ball. And it was just one of those, I thought the way she hit it was exactly what we wanted. And when it landed 20 paces beyond the flag, I just said, that is not a great leave. And we ended up making a double there and really never recovered, even though we're only 2 shots out of the lead there. Again, we've played some difficult holes after that, just didn't quite have our A game in those holes, and it cost us. And Man, I took this one hard, Scotty. I took this one really hard
I
because
know you did.
Bianca not playing Aaron Hills to me is a travesty. Like, golly, Aaron Hills, one of the biggest golf courses the women are ever going to see. And Bianca, arguably the longest female golfer on planet Earth, kind of the female version of Bryson, if you will, without all the YouTube followers. Um, I really am upset that she's not able to tee it up at that tournament.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
having a
mean,
rough time.
we all know how good Bianca is, and we all know the golf that you guys played together and special bond there, and that's why you hang that bib proudly over your right shoulder. And also to like shout out to her, she is such a good person. Anytime I see that pairing, and I know I'm going to have fun. I know I'm going to be able to have chats. I know I'm going to be able to joke with Sam, who's her dad's.
Well, and
Drew,
I believe you were joking with Brandon, who also caddies for her, who's a friend of mine. And that's one cool thing about Bianca. She uses two or three different caddies, and we all like each other. That doesn't always happen, does it, Scotty?
that's correct. That's correct. Um, Drew, you played at a site that we actually signed up for. Talk about how many quality LPGA players were at this site in 4 spots. Is that correct?
Three,
Three
three,
spots.
three
And how many?
spots.
I
And
mean,
Grace Kim got through. Manami Katsu got through. I mean, some usual
there had to be
suspects.
30 legit tour players at this event, correct?
There. It was kind of funny. It was Manami Katsu who got through. We were playing with her, and then we had this 18-year-old amateur young lady from Wisconsin, and she had her dad caddying for her. And this dad, I mean, God love his soul. He was in. I was. Manami has Johnny Scott
Yeah.
on the bag, longtime tour veteran who we're going to have on the show soon. But Johnny and I, we're kind of pros, and you don't say much. There's not a lot of commentary out there. I mean, no pro caddy is ever really that excited early in a U.S. Open qualifier. And
No, you got
Bianca,
36 holes today.
right? Bianca buries one from about 30 feet for birdie on the third hole to go 3 under through three, and this dad screams on fire, and I'm like, easy, pal. We got it's 8:30 in the morning. Let's just quiet down. And then we make a double, and
Yeah, of course.
the very next hole we eagle, and the dad goes, "That's a bounce back," and he's like giving play-by-play out on the green for Bianca, and he's caddying for his daughter. And honestly, I didn't even see the eagle putt roll. I'm flipping around in my yardage book getting things organized, but I hear his play-by-play, and I hear him roaring. So I don't need to watch the putt because this guy is giving me everything I
I tell
need.
you, yeah.
And it was just so funny. And Johnny eventually said, "This guy's more excited than she is to be here." And I said, "Yeah." And again, it's a typical dad. I'm sure if I'm ever in the situation where I'm caddying for my daughter in one of those, I'm going to be pretty pumped up. I
Sure.
think I might handle it slightly differently, but still, I'm trying to give the guy a little bit of grace. He was really excited. And, but it was an interesting mix. It was a good probably 30 tour pros, and then it was 40 amateurs. So you
Yeah.
kind of knew who you were going to have to go through
Yeah.
on this one, and it was exactly the usual suspects on top of the board, no surprises, and we were one of them. And I mean, Scotty, we've been talking about this through text for a couple of days now. I mean, I really feel like I let Bianca down by just not providing whatever she needed to get through because golly, was she going to just tear up Aaron Hills. And I know that golf course really well. And so, again, I'm just so frustrated she can't play it. However, I am encouraged to know that now you don't have to beat us, so now I can cheer for you.
Well, I was hoping that maybe we finally be at the same event, so we could do one of these in person together finally.
Honestly, it's funny.
Like you said,
We've been doing this.
We came 28 holes for making it happen.
We we've been doing this show better part of 14, 15 months,
Correct.
and we haven't been in the same room since we started the show.
No.
Just kind of wild.
But
But
to that
that's the
point,
beauty of technology.
I've actually have had a practice round with you at a U.S. Open with Bianca
Yes.
and Hanako Shibuno, and I didn't realize
Yes.
at the time, but we're playing number 1, which is a par 5, and
Yeah.
everyone hits their tee shots up there, and I'm locked in. It's a pretty short par 5, so you can hit 3-wood up there or whatever. And I look back and there must have been 26 people with the Japanese media in that fairway. and they were in the fairway the entire 9 holes.
I've done a practice round at a U.S. Open with Hideki, and I've done a practice round with Shinubo, and it's about the same experience. I mean, those Japanese people love their golf,
Yeah.
and it's wild because they are everywhere. And
Yeah.
the USGA does not allow anybody other than players or caddies and maybe coaches during practice rounds on the putting greens. So these Japanese people just ring every green, and it's almost like you remember the old timey baseball photos of Joe DiMaggio, and the photographers are up the first base line. You're like, how in the way are these guys?
Yeah.
Well, until you've done a practice round with Japanese media, you have no idea how in the way people with lenses can be when you're trying to get ready for a U.S. Open.
That's what I remember from that U.S. Open is literally I turned around that first fairway and there was legit 20 people with a camera or some recording device in the fairway,
Right.
and it was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, you and I have both been on Japanese television, and we'll never see a second of it, will we?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right, so back to U.S. Open qualifiers. There was a little bit of skerfuffle, I will say, on X. I won't say the player, but if you go and look and follow me, I did agree with her statement. Again, this is part of the Grow the Game initiative. We have more qualifiers out of the country, and you give more spots in certain places. I know there were 5 spots given to a qualifier in Japan, where I participated in a qualifier in the United States in Minneapolis. They gave away 3 spots. So is that fair or unfair, say you, Scotty, worldwide?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because I don't know the quality of the field, right? And I think the USGA statement is they always judge the quality of the field for as many spots as they give. So without knowing the entirety of that Japanese field, or not Japanese field, but of the field at the Japanese site, I don't want to say yes or no.
Here's the two-way street that some players argue. The Japanese Open doesn't have qualifiers in Austin, Texas, do they?
No.
That's sometimes and again, this is what the RNA has done with the men. All their qualifiers, they used to have 2 or 3 qualifiers here stateside for the Open Championship.
Yeah.
Those have now gone back over to the UK, and we still have USGA qualifiers in England and in Japan and in other parts of the world.
So,
but we don't have their qualifiers here. So we're making it easier for people to get into ours, and they're not doing the same on the flip.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I like that language of ours, right? I don't think it's anyone's ownership of the championship. That's why
you're an American. It's the U.S. Open. I mean, it's my national championship.
Should the U.S. Open just be predominant? Should the U.S. have an insight or advantages to the U.S. Open? I don't necessarily know. Again, I think
I don't think you should have an inside track, but have the qualifiers domestically where the tournament's being contested. That's my argument.
I do think 1 or 2 out. I think 1 in Asia and 1 in Europe is fine.
Again, they're not having their qualifiers here, so I just say, hey, if they're not gonna give us better access to their events, why are we going out of our way and giving more spots in Japan than I competed for in the U.S.?
Again, I think it's hard to say this without knowing the quality of the field. And why there's a certain number of spots. The USGA would tell you it's based on rank. And to that point, we know that the JLPGA tends to outrank LPGA just because of the way that the world rankings are done, right? I mean, you've seen it. You've seen it. Just go, for all of our listeners, go look at Grant Boone's post today. My good friend Jokum's probably not going to the U.S. Open because of what happened last week in Korea and how they got knocked out of their 75 spot, now find themselves this morning at 76 in the world.
Well, and Jokum was at the qualifier with me in Minneapolis. We bumped into each other on the range.
As they were 75 in the world.
Yeah, 75 in the world, and we're on the range with them getting ready to go Tuesday morning. And I'm like, what are they even doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
And now I know why.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, I think it's an interesting situation. I don't necessarily know the fix, but I will say this, as someone that has been on all sides of this and someone that has done U.S. Open qualifying 4 times, have had 3 success and missed a putt that would have sent us in from about 4 feet. I do think it's one thing that Mike, coming from the LPGA and coming from probably the biggest organization in the women's game, should have done better. The way that we choose sites and the way that it correlates to the LPGA schedule is not great. And I think what we should do is have a better and bigger qualifier on our off weeks and give out more spots. Or just like if you're 200 in the world or whatever, you should be able to play in a qualifier that gives out 7 or 8 spots. I think that's fair, because what happens is the product is actually you get probably the worst field of the year.
Well, what I thought you were going to say is it sounds like the guy who finished one spot out of an alternate spot is trying to change qualifying, and the answer would just be play better. I thought that's what you were going to say.
No, because I do think the way that we do qualifying isn't the best. And I
Okay.
I
do also think we should have just played better, and we could have answered a lot of these questions.
No, but I do think the 76th player in the world that plays on the LPGA in regular tournaments shouldn't be at Erin Hills. And the fact that they're not, to me, the USGA only gets a weaker field. So I don't know if we extend it to, I don't necessarily know the answer, but for all this praise and good things that Mike has done at the USGA, I think this one still lacks.
Okay. Maybe we have him on the show soon and we ask him directly.
I'm in. Let's do it.
We'll get on that. All right. U.S. Open qualifying, it is a grind. It is the longest day in golf, whether you're doing it for the Women's Open or the men's. The men's is coming up soon. Golf Channel will cover that extensively. It is tough. It is not for the faint of heart. And boy, I wish I could have gotten that lady right there into the U.S. Open at Erin Hills. We're going to have an Erin Hills preview coming up in another episode. Okay. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and X. Give us a listen, a like, subscribe, and we will keep giving you a view of golf from my side of the bag.